Now, I've been waiting for some time to get my hands on a Soviet radio, and here is one. It's the Astra B205. I think it was sold under a few other brand names. The problem I've found with trying to get hold of old Soviet era radios is they're either complete basket cases that have got almost all the bits missing and completely unsuitable for restoration, or they've been very carefully restored by somebody very well and they want 150 quid for them, and that's not really the market that I'm in. However, this one, yeah, is a little bit more expensive than I probably want to pay, but it's all right. It's from, I believe, the 1970s. It has how many? 8 bands. It has long wave, medium wave and 5 shortwave bands, which might seem a little excessive. I wonder if I mean, this was a Russian-made radio for the British market. It's labelled in English. It doesn't have Russian markings. They obviously, presumably, they made them for the Russian market as well. Maybe they wanted lots of shortwave bands so they could listen to stuff from the other side of the Iron Curtain. I don't know. Anyway, it's got quite a lot of them. And yeah, we've got a problem here with the bass control knob missing. This is a similar thing to the problem I had on the Yacht Boys. It's a non-standard control knob, so I think control knobs are going to be an issue trying to get this thing back into shape again. But, you know, it's a minor thing. I can probably find a way of doing it, like I did with the Grundig. What particularly fascinates me about this one is this waveband selector here. Now you can see it's got this little window. It looks a bit like the front of a number 9 bus. And when you turn this thing here at the side, it changes what's in that window. Like this, you see. Pretty impressive. This is something that when you look at the back of it, if you have a look inside it, it's something that I used to see. We used to seeing in TVs in the old days, but never seen one in a radio before. Now I've already taken the battery cover off. This takes 6 of the big D-cell batteries. I also noticed that there's quite a bit of surface rust on these battery contacts here. I did also find, though, that when you take the back off, the whole battery box comes out as a separate assembly, which made it quite easy to get it out and do a bit of sanding and other abrasion on it to try and get it to work again. I haven't actually powered it up yet at the moment, but you know, I could put the batteries in and try that. I've taken the back off to show you this wonderful device here that I was just explaining. It's called a turret tuner for obvious reasons, because like a little turret that goes around, and each one of these positions as you turn it has got a little circuit board with different inductors and capacitors on, and as you turn the waveband selector, it brings different ones into contact. I mean, I wouldn't want to have to try and fix that mechanism if it went wrong. It's absolutely superb piece of mechanical work. Also, we look at the complicated windings on the here on the tuning cords, and it's got 2 tuning capacitors. One in this this is obviously the FM box, and this is the AM bit and medium wave, short wave. And but overall, it looks pretty good build quality. Really, I'm quite impressed with it. We'll see if it works. And I'll tell you something, it's got the usual things. It's got a sort of non-standard external power supply connector. Don't know what that would fit. Aerial sockets and a little earphone socket, and the usual DIN socket for plugging in tape recorders and things. So anyway, I'm going to put the batteries in now and we'll see what we get. Well, it's a bit of a mixed bag of results, really. I'll just show you a bit of it because it doesn't get good reception here, but I'll show you a bit of it on medium wave and long wave.
Comes next in March after this, so these games certainly, although we can't qualify, they're not.
The Home Office has confirmed that nearly 1,200 migrants reached the UK by boat yesterday.
And as you can see from that, it sounds okay there. 2 big problems I've got is this. This is not properly binding on here. It's falling to bits. I think it's basically the same problem I said with the knobs not being very good and not being very grippy. They're all different as well. They don't all have the same fixing, so I can't just change them around. So I'm going to have to do something about that. And because this isn't gripping properly, it makes it very difficult to tune. I did manage to get stuff on some of the shortwave bands as well. So I think the AM part is pretty solid. If I could get this a bit better and get the tuning a bit more free, although I definitely don't want to have to try and play with the tuning mechanism on this, then it will be good. And this little needle here is quite good for locating your tuning. You can't quite see that here. I'll just bring that in a bit. There's like a tuning meter just about here that is quite useful when you're trying to tune in things, especially shortwave things. But again, on shortwave, you're always looking at a very narrow place where you can get a station, and having a thing which has so much slip in it doesn't help very much. What is disappointing is I get absolutely nothing on FM. Now I suspect it's down to the some of the switching, and there is sort of evidence when you move this turret tuner around that you have to move it slightly off a little bit. So I think some of the contacts on the turret tuner might need a bit of cleaning. Also, there's bound to be a switch there that disables it, because the turret tuner is only used for all the medium wave, long wave and short wave bands. It isn't used for the VHF part. So there must be some switch that's knocking the VHF in, and I did get a little bit of reception on that, and now it's stopped. So that's one where we'll have to have it apart for. Now, a particularly unpleasant feature of this radio set is when you take the lid off, the batteries all fall out. So that makes it rather difficult to work on it while it's powered up. What I'm probably going to do is just wire in a 9-volt battery into here, which is possibly a better way to power it anyway than these massive old dinosaurs. So let's do that, and then I can get started and see if we can find out what's wrong with the FM section. So I've powered it up with this battery here now. I'm in the FM position, and I've got the volume turned up quite high, but I'm getting absolutely nothing in terms of station. I'm roughly where I'd expect a station to be on the dial. So I'm guessing, so obviously none of this stuff is now in contact with these things here. None of this turret, none of these cards are in contact with it, because these are only used for AM. But there must be some sort of switching mechanism somewhere, which when these are out of circuit switches the FM bit into circuit. And this is the FM tuner here. The fact that I get noise there suggests that that is switched into circuit. So I'm not sure why we're getting nothing. It would be rather sad if there was something actually wrong with this, because that looks a bit difficult to get out. Right, I've spared you a lot of watching paint dry, mucking about, poking things and trying to get it to make a noise. I've worked out what the issue is, and I don't know how to fix it yet. But there has to be something different, because as I've said, when it's in the FM position, none of these things are engaged, because these are only for AM. So something has to happen across this assembly when you switch it to FM that makes that switches all the FM stuff into circuit, and I couldn't see where that was. But I eventually noticed that although when you rotate this, I'm really getting RSI from trying to change this around now. But you can see this go round, right, as it changes through all the AM wave bands. And then when I get to the one where it goes onto FM, something happens at this spring contact here, look. So this is, as soon as I go to FM, you see that spring arm here jumps. It moves to one side. But it doesn't stay there. Now there must be a reason why it moves, and obviously it's these things that are obviously making contact at this point. So I'm in FM mode now. Just check that around the front there. Yeah, I'm in FM mode now. I'm going to turn it up, and I'm going to move this spring contact manually. Yay. See? So what is happening is that it is, turn it down again. What's happening is that this is sort of engaging, but it's not, and it's not fully kicking over here. It tries to and then stops. So somehow we've got to make this thing work. Now in big capital letters on the service instructions here, it says, "Do not attempt to disassemble the turret mechanism." And this is not entirely surprising. I have no idea what would happen if we tried to fix this. I imagine that 4 million screws and springs fly out, and it can only be reassembled by some instructions that are sitting locked in a frozen basement in Riga, apparently, where it was made. So yeah, let's have a look and see if we can see. Maybe it's just the spring needs tightening. I often think, this is what I always say, it's my optimistic view of all radios, just tighten the spring and it'll start working again. I may be carrying optimism a little too far on this one. So I've got it pretty much fully dismantled now, and you get a better view of what the problem is. You can see this raised part on this wheel here. That is supposed to be the thing that pushes this whole assembly across when it's in the FM position and moves all the contacts on that long switching bar. But the reason it doesn't do it is you can see when it actually gets to that position that instead of pushing that, it jumps off the whole thing and the whole wheel moves forward. So somehow it must be supposed to be anchored in this, but it isn't being, and I don't see anything that's fallen off. I don't see what held it there. So although I now have a pretty good idea, well, I'm absolutely certain what the problem is, I still don't really know how to fix it. So we'll have to have another think. Well, I'd definitely be lying if I said this was an elegant solution to the problem, but basically this thing is just worn out, and there was nothing holding it apart from the tension of this piece of metal, which has gone over the years. So you will see I have put this completely inappropriate screw here, which just happens because the problem is there's very little room to maneuver to put a hole in here to get something through to hold that down. Ideally, to get a long enough one, I wanted an M3.5 screw, but then I can't fit an M3.5 nut on there. I could tap it with an M4, I could tap the hole to M4, but then the M4 screw head won't go on there. And none of the other screws I have are long enough. But I found this wood screw just sits in the right place. Now, it doesn't completely stop it moving, but it does actually make things work. So when you move to FM now, you can see that let's just watch the switch mechanism. You can see the switch mechanism actually does move. There, look. So I think that's fixed it, and I did check also that this protruding screw head will allow it to go back in the box. So I'm going to put it all back together, and hopefully I haven't damaged anything else in the process. Well, I've powered it back on again.
Handley Ear Hearing, helping you hear your life
And
better.
yeah, we now have FM on this set.
Songs play all weekend on Star Radio. With Bourne Airfield Sunday Market. Discover amazing bargains from 9 till 3 every Sunday.
So yeah, that dodgy screw does seem to have held it all in position. I can change wave bands now. I have to say the sound quality isn't brilliant, but it's not, given the size of the radio. There's some echoes of the Grundig thing here with a little dial light facility and things like that. But and in general, I don't think it's a badly built set. I think what largely lets it down are these control knobs. You can see I've shifted these around a bit. They don't really fit still. I'll move these around a bit, but that's really what lets it down on the quality front. And I've had to put this temporary one in here so to get the tuning to work without slipping. I think really that what lets it down is in fact that turret tuner. I don't see why they put that in, why they didn't just put an ordinary waveband switch in. Well, admittedly there are a lot of wavebands, so maybe that's why, but the thing about turret tuners is, as I said before, you used to see them a lot in old tellies, and the thing about old tellies was that if you wanted to watch something else, you had to do the time-honoured old trick, which you don't do now, having to get out of your chair, walk across the room to the TV receiver, and operate the turret tuner to choose from one of the massive choice of 2 channels that were available, and then go and sit back down again. But they got a lot of use, and if you get a lot of use on them, it cleans the contacts up. And this one, I don't know. I mean, it seems to have worn out in another way anyway, but there are definitely problems with the contacts not all making and breaking at the right times. So I think overall, I'm slightly disappointed because I know that Russian radios at that time tend to have a very good reputation. So I don't think this is one of the best I've seen. Maybe I just picked a bad one. But anyway, we've got it back into working condition. I suppose that's an achievement.